There is a man in every room who sees what others miss. He doesn't rush to conclusions. He asks one question that shifts everything. You've been in rooms with him. You felt it. Here's exactly how his mind works. 7 patterns, each one learnable, each one usable tomorrow morning. The first pattern is thinking in systems, not events. Daniel Kahneman at Princeton University spent decades mapping the difference between 2 modes of human cognition. System 1, fast, automatic, pattern matching. System 2, slow, deliberate, analytical. Most people operate almost entirely in System 1. They see an event and respond to the event. The deep thinker sees an event and asks what system produced it. Here is a distinction in practice. A project fails. The average mind identifies who made the mistake. The deep thinker asks what conditions made that mistake predictable. One response produces blame. The other produces a system that prevents the same failure from happening again. The same intelligence directed at different levels of the problem produces completely different outcomes. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this consistently in his private journals. He was not interested in what happened. He was interested in the structure underneath what happened. His meditations read like a man continuously pulling the camera back to find the principle behind the event. That habit of mind is why his decisions across 20 years of leadership held together as a system rather than as a collection of reactions. In 2026, the ability to think in systems has become more valuable and more rare simultaneously. More valuable because the speed of change means that event-level responses are obsolete before they're implemented. More rare because information environments reward reaction. The platform that captures your attention is optimized for your response to events. Every notification, every headline, every update is a system designed to keep you at the event level. Deep thinkers in 2026 have to actively resist an infrastructure built to keep them shallow. The dark side of event-level thinking is cumulative. Each reaction feels justified because the event was real. The pattern of reactions across months and years produces a life that was never chosen. It was assembled from responses. Start with one question applied to every significant problem you face this week. What system produced this? Not who, not what. What system? That question alone shifts the level at which your mind operates. Systems thinking is the foundation, but there is a trap built into every strong analytical mind. It finds answers too fast. The second pattern is about what you do with that speed. The second pattern is sitting with uncertainty longer than feels comfortable. Keith Stanovich at the University of Toronto has studied what he calls disrationalia for 2 decades. His finding is specific and counterintuitive. High IQ does not predict good reasoning. What predicts good reasoning is the disposition to keep thinking when the first answer feels satisfying. He calls this actively open-minded thinking. It is not intelligence. It is a habit. And most people with high intelligence never develop it because their intelligence finds satisfying answers quickly. Here's the mechanism. Your brain resolves uncertainty as fast as possible because uncertainty is uncomfortable. The faster you resolve it, the more relief you feel. Intelligence makes this process faster, not slower. The man with the highest IQ in the room is often the first to reach a conclusion. That speed feels like insight. It is often premature closure. The deep thinker has learned to use discomfort as information. When a conclusion arrives quickly, that speed is a signal to pause, not proceed. The easy answer is rarely the complete one. The comfortable frame is rarely the only frame. In 2026, every AI tool available to you will provide a fast, well-reasoned sounding answer to almost any question within seconds. The answer will feel complete. It will have structure and evidence and coherent logic. The men who use these tools and stop there are outsourcing their closure. The deep thinker uses the answer as a starting point, not an end point. What is the strongest argument against this? What would have to be true for this to be wrong? Those two questions applied consistently are the difference between using AI to accelerate thinking and using AI to replace it. The dark side of premature closure is strategic. The man who reaches conclusions quickly becomes predictable. The people around him learn how to present information to get the outcome they want from him. His certainty is a lever. Uncertainty, held deliberately, is a form of protection. And here is the practical application right now. The next time you reach a conclusion quickly, write down the 3 strongest arguments against it before you act. Not to change the conclusion, to test it. The conclusions that survive that test are the ones worth acting on. The ones that don't, you just saved yourself from. The map you're using to navigate the world was built from the past. The third pattern is about keeping it current. The third pattern is separating the map from the territory. Alfred Korzybski, the Polish-American philosopher who influenced an entire generation of cognitive scientists, stated it directly. The map is not the territory. The model you use to understand reality is not reality. It is a simplification of reality constructed from your experience, your assumptions, and your available information. Every decision you make is based on the map, not the territory. The question is how closely your map matches what is actually there. Here is how this plays out in practice. You have a model of how your industry works. You have a model of how a particular person operates. You have a model of what your organization values and why. These models were built from evidence. They have served you well. They are also out of date. The territory changed. The map did not update. You are navigating current terrain with historical data. Philip Tetlock at the University of Pennsylvania has spent decades studying forecasting accuracy across thousands of experts. His finding: the experts who update their models most frequently when new evidence arrives are dramatically more accurate than those who hold their models fixed. He calls the updating experts foxes. They know many things and hold them loosely. The non-updaters he calls hedgehogs. They know one big thing and apply it everywhere. Hedgehogs are more confident. Foxes are more correct. In 2026, the rate of map obsolescence has accelerated. The territory is changing faster than at any point in recent history. AI capabilities, geopolitical shifts, market structures, communication norms. The man whose map was accurate in 2023 is operating on information that is 3 years stale. That is a long time right now. The deep thinker schedules map updates, not as a response to crisis, as a practice. Once a month, identify one assumption you are operating on and ask what evidence you would need to see to change it. That question keeps the map moving with the territory. The men who navigate best in fast-changing environments are not the ones with the best maps. They are the ones who know their maps are wrong and update them fastest. That habit is worth more than any single piece of information. Updating the map tells you where you are. The fourth pattern tells you where the decisions you make today are going to take you. The fourth pattern is reading second and third order consequences. Most people evaluate a decision by its immediate first order effect. Will this work? Does this solve the problem in front of me? The deep thinker evaluates the same decision 2 and 3 layers deeper. What does this make possible that was not possible before? What does this make necessary that was not necessary before? What does this close off? If this kind of thinking is useful to you, there is more where this came from. Subscribe to Dark Architect. New video every day. The button is right there. Thomas Schelling at Harvard University won the Nobel Prize in Economics for his work on strategic behavior. His most practical insight was this: every action in a system changes the incentives for every other actor in that system. You cannot evaluate a decision in isolation from the responses it will trigger. The first order effect is what you intended. The second order effect is what other people do because of what you did. The third order effect is what the environment becomes as a result of all those responses. Most disasters are first order successes that nobody traced to their third order consequences. In 2026, second and third order thinking has a specific application. Every technology decision you make changes the capability of the people around you in ways that will reshape what they ask of you. Every communication norm you establish trains the people you work with to expect that norm. Every shortcut you take in quality creates a precedent that becomes an expectation. The deep thinker does not just ask whether the decision works. He asks what world the decision creates. The dark side of ignoring second-order consequences is organizational. Leaders who solve immediate problems without tracing consequences build organizations full of new problems they do not recognize as connected to their solutions. They experience this as bad luck. It is bad analysis. Apply one question to every significant decision before you make it. If everyone I work with adopted this decision as a standard, what would the environment look like in 6 months? That question surfaces most of the second-order consequences before they become problems. You now know how to think about your decisions in time. The fifth pattern shifts the focus from what people say to what they are not saying. That shift is where most real information lives. The fifth pattern is understanding what someone is not saying. This is the most socially powerful thinking pattern on this list and the least taught. Research from Nicholas Epley at the University of Chicago on social cognition consistently shows the same result. People believe they understand others far better than they do. The gap between what someone communicates and what they mean is consistently larger than the listener estimates. We fill the gap with our own assumptions and experience the fill as understanding. It usually is not. The deep thinker tracks 3 channels simultaneously in every significant conversation. What is being said? What is being avoided? What is being communicated through the avoidance? Here's what this looks like. Someone presents a plan to you with significant enthusiasm. They cover the benefits thoroughly. They mention the risks briefly and move past them. The surface channel says they're excited about this plan. The avoidance channel says the risks are real enough to mention, but uncomfortable to dwell on. The third channel says they already know the risks are significant and are hoping you won't focus there. None of that was stated. All of it was communicated. In 2026, this skill applies to AI-generated content as much as to human communication. The outputs of large language models have a specific pattern of avoidance. They are fluent about what is well documented. They become vague at the edges of their reliable knowledge. The deep thinker reading an AI-generated analysis tracks where the precision drops. That is where the real uncertainty lives. The dark side of not reading what is unsaid is that you make decisions based on incomplete information and believe you have complete information. That is worse than knowing you have incomplete information. Known uncertainty can be managed. Unknown uncertainty cannot. In your next significant conversation, track one thing. What topic did this person approach and then redirect away from? That redirection is almost always more important than everything they said directly. Most conversations happen on the surface. The deep thinker reads 2 levels below the surface simultaneously. But reading people accurately requires one more step. You have to be willing to be wrong about your own position. The 6th pattern is about that willingness. The 6th pattern is building arguments against your own positions. This is the habit that separates men who think from men who rationalize. Thinking means following evidence to a conclusion. Rationalizing means starting from a conclusion and building evidence to support it. Both processes feel identical from the inside. That is the problem. Jonathan Haidt at NYU has studied moral reasoning extensively. His finding applies far beyond ethics. When people reach a conclusion they prefer, the reasoning process that follows is almost entirely post hoc justification. They are not evaluating evidence. They are assembling a case. The conclusion was reached first, emotionally and quickly. The logic came after to defend what was already decided. The deep thinker builds the counter case deliberately, not to destroy his own position, to find the parts of it that cannot withstand pressure. Those parts are the ones that will fail in practice. Better to find them in your own analysis than to discover them after you have committed to the decision. Henry Kissinger applied this systematically throughout his career. Before presenting any position to a negotiating partner, he would spend time constructing the strongest possible argument for the opposing view. Not to understand the opponent, though that was a benefit. To identify where his own position was genuinely weak versus where it only appeared weak. That distinction determined which points he held firm and which he used as trading positions. In 2026, this habit has a practical tool. After you reach any significant conclusion, take the AI model of your choice and ask it to make the strongest possible case against your position. Then ask yourself, which of those arguments you cannot refute? The ones you cannot refute are the ones you need to address before you act. Build the case against yourself before someone else does. That is not weakness. That is the thinking that makes positions unbreakable. Here is the dark side of never doing this. The man who does not stress test his own positions builds his decisions on foundations he has never examined. At some point under real pressure, those foundations get tested by circumstances instead of by him. Circumstances are a far less forgiving examiner than your own mind in a quiet room. You now know how to think about what you know. The 7th pattern is about knowing what you are actually trying to solve. The 7th pattern is knowing what kind of problem you are actually solving. Roger Martin at the University of Toronto has studied problem solving across organizations for decades. His finding: most organizational failures are not failures of execution. They are failures of problem definition. The team solved the wrong problem brilliantly. Here is the pattern. A symptom appears. The symptom is treated as the problem. A solution is built for the symptom. The symptom improves. The underlying problem remains. A different symptom appears. The cycle repeats. The deep thinker does not start solving until he has asked one question. Is this the problem, or is this the symptom of the problem? That question alone changes what he looks at. In 2026, this applies to the AI tools themselves. The men adopting AI most aggressively are solving efficiency problems. They are asking how to do what they already do faster. The deeper question is whether what they are doing should be done at all. Efficiency applied to the wrong activity produces faster failure. The deep thinker uses AI to challenge his problem definition, not just to accelerate his solution. Epictetus identified the same principle 2,000 years ago without the language of problem solving. He wrote that people suffer not from events, but from their judgments about events. The judgment about what kind of problem you face determines everything that follows. Get the problem definition wrong, and every correct action compounds the error. 3 questions apply to every significant problem before you attempt a solution. What would this look like if the problem were completely solved? What is currently preventing that state from existing? Is what I am about to do addressing the prevention or the symptom? The 3rd question is the one that separates deep problem solving from sophisticated symptom management. Most men answer the 3rd question without ever asking the first 2. The deep thinker cannot move to solutions until he has a clear answer to all 3. That discipline looks slow. Over time, it is the fastest path through any problem because it goes to the right place on the first attempt instead of the 2nd or the 5th. 7 patterns, each one a layer of how the sharpest men actually process the world. The man who thinks in systems while everyone else reacts to events, who sits with uncertainty while everyone else rushes to conclusions, who updates his map while everyone else navigates on old data, who reads 3 moves ahead while everyone else evaluates the move in front of them, who hears what is not said while everyone else listens to the words, who attacks his own positions before anyone else can, who defines the real problem before he builds a single solution. These are not talents. They are habits, and habits are chosen. The next video is already loaded. It covers the most disturbing dark psychology facts about human behavior that most people refuse to believe, and why knowing them changes every social interaction you will have from this point forward. Watch it now. Subscribe to Dark Architect. New video every day. No motivation, no fluff. Just the mechanism. Most men think faster than they think deeper. The gap between those 2 things is where every opportunity you've missed actually lived. Now, you know how to close it.